Hey guys, so today's talk is all about criticism, and I'm really excited to talk about this because it's something that I struggled with a lot personally. So I want to give you my advice and what I've read up on it and what I've learned over time. First of all, we're going to be talking about perspective, so how we look at criticism, and then we're going to be going into constructive criticism, so how we can use it to grow, and then dealing with negative criticism. So how we look at criticism really can determine how we deal with it. First of all, you have to ask yourself, is this person criticizing me to help me? Do they want me to grow? Do they want me to learn? Or are they just trying to have a negative impact on me? Criticism is like the brother of failure. They're a little bit bitter to take, but actually they are what pushes you forward the most. If someone told you all the good and kept saying, yes, that's great, you're doing amazing, and you're never, ever going to reach your full potential. Another thing we have to remember is that nobody is perfect, and especially when we're learning new things, we need that feedback to get better. So criticism is really a fundamental to improving yourself. It's hugely important as well to remember to not take it personally, and I know this can be quite hard at the time, but especially when it's constructive criticism, nobody is trying to make you feel small or belittle you by doing this. They really are trying to help you grow as a person. And even with the negative, don't take it personally. It's normally the other person that's got the issue, not you. The more you put yourself out there, the more critics you're going to get. And this is just human nature. Everybody has an opinion about everything. Now, some people are going to agree with what you do, and that's great, but there might also be some people that don't agree. But don't let this put you off, and really take the constructive criticism you can and then brush off the negative. Now let's talk about constructive criticism. I used to struggle a lot with this, and I think I used to take it so personally, and I used to think that people were having a go at me all the time and that I was never good enough, and this is not at all what it is. So when someone gives us some feedback, it's really important that we don't become defensive or hostile with it, because then it's going to put the person off maybe doing this again when we need more feedback. I always think when someone gives me criticism, maybe even if I don't agree with it, then I always say thank you. I make sure I listen to the whole thing, and then I ask loads of questions so that I make sure we're on the same level. You'll find just by asking questions that it makes the situation a lot lighter and a lot easier, and you will find that you will definitely learn something out of it. If you don't feel like you are, just go away, think about it, take some time, and then you can always go back to that person and talk to them again. They say knowledge is power. And it is, but only if you apply it. So when someone gives you some feedback, make sure that you actually actively try to do what they're telling you to do and try and improve it. This may take a little bit of time. You may need to sit down and actually really think about it, but make sure that you give it a go, because it may be the missing link that you need. If you struggle with constructive criticism and you feel that it really gets to you personally, just try and remember, if this person didn't care about you and didn't really want you to get better, then they wouldn't bother saying anything at all. Why waste their time explaining it? This person obviously thinks you have potential and wants you to improve in this area, so really do take it as a positive. Now we're going to talk about negative criticism, and for me this is a really big one because I used to struggle with it a lot. I used to take what people said so literally and so personally, and even if in the front of my head I was like, yeah, that's silly, that makes no sense, there was always a little voice in the back of my head going, maybe they're right. So it's really important to know how to deal with it, how to know when someone is just being negative towards you, and this is what we're going to talk about now. So like I said earlier, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to get criticised. But also another thing as well is the more successful you become and the better you become in something, the more you are going to get negative criticism and have people hating on you. So this is because that certain person might be jealous, they might be upset, they might be too scared to do it themselves. So the only way they can really deal with it is to put you down about it. So it's very easy when someone criticises you to maybe retaliate, or then just go into your shell and be like, oh, it is all my fault, it is me, I am this terrible person. But I always think of actually sympathising with the person that has just criticised me. Why are they doing this? You know, like I say, they might be upset, they might be having a really bad day. You do not know what's going on in other people's lives to why they have snapped at you in that way. Just remember that and don't let it get to you. If this doesn't work and you feel like there's no chance and they're being very hostile and it's very tricky, just remember, especially on social media, that there is that block button, there is that delete button. You can get away from this person. You don't have to win the battle, and really you can just walk away. Now this one is a tricky one, and it's easy to ignore, but I always think about looking for the small truth in what someone said, even if they meant it to be negative. So think how empowering that is towards you. Someone's come at you with a negative comment, trying to make you feel really bad, put you down. You've gone, actually, you know, you might have a little point there. I'm going to go and work on that and grow and become a better person. That is an incredible way to deal with criticism, and it really is going to be a bit of a shock to them because they've come at you trying to put you down, and actually they've just built you up. So it's kind of had the role reversed to what they wanted to do, but amazing for you. We all know the saying, sticks and stones, and it really is true. At the end of the day, someone's words can't hurt you unless you let them. So it's just important to not let people's negativity drag you down. If you feel like you need to talk to someone, talk to one of your friends, and they might give you like another perspective on it, and really make you see the light a little bit more. And just remember, if you have that self-belief and you have that why and you have all those principles, then you know in your heart of heart what you're doing is right and you are trying your hardest, then no one can bring you down. So I'm just going to finish up with a few questions that I got asked in my Facebook Live. First of all is, if you get a negative comment on Facebook or Instagram, do you delete it? Do you respond to it, and how? So I'm going to explain to you how I deal with negative comments, and don't get me wrong, I've had so many now. The more I put myself out on social media, the more I see it, and it's becoming quite a normal thing for me, and I'm really finding that I'm definitely not taking it personally anymore. So if someone has written a negative comment, I don't normally delete it unless it's got a really abusive language in it. I leave it up there and I reply in the best way possible. I always try and remain really upbeat about this. So if someone maybe has picked up the wrong end of the stick, I try to explain it in a bit of a different way. If they haven't and they just really don't agree with what I'm saying, then I just say everyone is open to their own opinion, that's fine, and have a nice day. Another one that I got asked, and this is very dressage specific, is if you go into a test and you feel like it's gone really well, you've come out, you're really happy, you go to the scoreboard and then you see your mark and you're like... So this can be a tricky one, but how I always look at it is that the judge sees a page of your book. So what I mean by this is the judge sees 5 minutes of years and years of training. Now, this is just how it is. This is dressage. And they may not see that maybe you've just had a small victory and you've just nailed that transition that you've been struggling with for ages, but that's not their fault and it's not your fault. So you really have to keep things in perspective. So that is my video on criticism. If you feel like you've got more questions in certain areas or you want me to go into more depth, just message me and I can. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will see you for the next one.